it going, everyone? VenomousStare here. Today we're going to be talking about a specific situation, so this is a tutorial of sorts. This is my response to PvZ as Protoss when your opponent goes Mutalisk and you have not opened Stargate and you're not ready. So this game is close positions invader, which is advantageous for us. So I kind of expected the Zerg to make a ground army. Well, he went Muta instead. And I show you how I like to respond to that because, in my opinion, that's one of the hardest things to deal with as Protoss. Is an opponent who goes Muta and you didn't open Stargate and it's too late to go into Stargate because they already have lots of Muta. So it's close positions invader, which means the rush distance is very short. So the Zerg does something that Zergs did on Lost Temple back in the day, which is take their third at the main base on the other side of the map. Now, I did not expect him to do this, and there are points in the game when I should have been able to deduce what was happening, but it didn't occur to me that that was a possibility. So I don't really do the adequate things to shut down this base. But that's not the point of this video. Cybercore got delayed way too long too. There it goes. So I like to respond by going into Blink and then trying to go for Archons with both High Templar and Dark Templar. And I like to use the Warp Prism in conjunction with the Mothership Core to make the Zerg continuously decide, because what you don't want is the Zerg to be able to harass you with impunity and just keep poking you, keep prodding you, and every time he can do that with his mutas, go in for no cost and fly away. You don't want that to happen. And you don't have Phoenix to chase him off. You can't build up to a critical mass of Phoenix to stop him. So what you have to do is every time he starts to harass you heavily, warp in to defend and counterattack one of his bases and make him decide, does he want to harass with mutas or does he want to bring his mutas home? Because any idiot can make a bunch of mutas if you don't have the right tech and just beat you with mutas if you're continuously trying to defend with units that can never really defend. So what you should try to do is always make your opponent have to decide between harassment and base defense. So our opponent started his Spire, and it's critical that I don't scout this. I honestly didn't scout very well this game, but considering it was close positions invader, and I saw early roaches, I just assumed he would be going for a big roach army. But he doesn't. He just made a handful of roaches and went into Muta with his hidden base. So I was caught off guard. As you can see, I'm making sentries, which obviously isn't good against Muta, and I'm taking my fourth. I've done like a 5-gate expand. I'm adding additional gates in my Twilight now, as well as starting to saturate my third. Now it's important to note that my opponent's first Mutalisks are going to come out, and I have no idea. He's going to be able, theoretically, he should be able to surprise me and get lots of damage done. It's very, very important that I figure this out, because being prepared for Mutalisk is the key to stopping Mutalisks. And Norax, my opponent, has taken his third. Now it's a bit delayed because I had a Zealot up here, which is nice. If he had gotten to take this, if I hadn't had the Zealot here, this third would have already been finished and he would have a huge income spike ahead of me. He's already very ahead of me. It would probably be too much to overcome. So here comes the reveal. If we go to my vision, I see that he has mutas. So it's important to start setting up kind of a few pylons on the outside to see if he's going to fly into my main, but I don't want to be put in a vulnerable situation where he can always pick stuff off. So notice I start Blink immediately and start to chrono, and I know he's going to fly into my main, so I push across the map immediately, start my chrono on Blink, and start to warp in units in my main. Now the Zerg has to make a decision. Do I pull back with my mutas or harass? He sees a few stalkers. It's not really enough to stop him, but I warp in more. And look across the map. His harass has been thwarted. He's lost a few mutas. And now I'm in his base killing creep tumors. That's really annoying because now his third base is more vulnerable. Taking damage on the mothership core was really, really bad. Unacceptably sloppy micro. Because this mothership core is my ticket out, it means that there's significantly less risk. There should really be no risk, but I microed horrendously. A Norax should be able to defend this. The goal is not to kill him with this push, but to make his mutas pull back. He lost over half of his mutas because he was forced to make a decision. He also lost his initial creep tumors, which are active, which was important. And was forced to make lots of roaches, which was also good because that's gas he doesn't spend on mutas. And most importantly, that attack served the purpose of thwarting his harassment in conjunction with these units. My blink is almost complete, which is quintessential for holding this off. I should have started my Dark Templar Dark Shrine and my Templar archives. There I go. I was prioritizing lots of stalkers because I didn't want to get killed by a big roach swell. Notice how I don't join my stalkers with my main army because I know he's going to try to harass my main. I just leave them there. Also notice whenever I knew there was muta, I built one cannon in each mineral line. Oftentimes this won't be enough to prevent your opponent from killing your probes, but the one cannon is honestly just kind of a visual deterrent. If you have an empty, naked mineral, if you have a naked mineral line, the Zerg's going to kill your probes every time. But if you have one cannon, he might think twice. And obviously, if he loses a bunch of his mutas like he did before and tries to harass with like 6 orange ones, which was a situation that could have happened earlier this game, it would be good against that. So these stalkers are 1-1-1 and his mutas are 0-0. Obviously it would be better if I had more attack upgrades because I want to be sniping these mutas and picking them off. But I do have an upgrade advantage in general, which is important. I also have an observer kind of in the middle of his natural and third, which is important because it allows me to see if he's transitioning. Because if he's building units as Zerg, he's going to have all of his stuff kind of rallied out in a neutral location. He's not going to have like all the units that come out of his thing here and here and here. I also made a warp prism and I didn't use it because the idea is to defending this is the priority first of all, and I want to have plenty of stalkers to do that, but I want to wait to use this warp prism until I push another base, and he's been so busy microing that he hasn't seen it. Blinking back there, and force field's cutting off the roaches because you don't want to fight the roaches and mutas, you just want to fight one. So notice his roaches got eviscerated because they couldn't get to my army, and then he tries to fight straight up with mutas because he knows I'm going to push him. He doesn't have anything to fall back on. And sure enough, the slight upgrade advantage mixed with the fact that I had blink and have constantly been warping him the whole time meant that he couldn't defend. I didn't even need to use my warp prism or make archons. And that's how you deal with Mutalists whenever you don't have a stargate. You play a very safe defensive style, you go into blink, you get upgrades, and you force your opponent to make decisions. I hope you enjoyed, I hope it was informative. If it was, subscribe.